This video is about this very important concept, Gibbs phase rule. To understand it, we have to understand phase equilibria based on chemical potential and activity, which we have done in the video chemical potential and activity. If you have not seen that video, I suggest you go to that video, watch it and come back. This is what we have concluded there. Phase equilibria and activity. For phases to be in equilibrium, activity of each element must be same in each phase. Here you can see phi and alpha. These are the two phases which are in equilibrium. Activity of element A in the phase phi must be equal to activity of element A in the phase alpha. Similarly, if this is a system with two elements A and B, then activity of B in phi should be equal to activity of B in alpha. Since chemical potential is a function of activity, the same thing that we have seen for activity holds good for chemical potential also. For phases to be in equilibrium, chemical potential of each element must be same in each phase. This is also something that we have seen in that video. Now what about chemical composition? We have seen about activity and chemical potential. What about chemical composition? If two phases are to be in equilibrium, should the amount of element A in both the phases be same? So this is something that we have seen in the video on equilibrium. We have discussed about concentration gradient. Let's say if amount of A is higher in one phase and lower in the other phase. For these two phases to be in equilibrium, we expect that intuitively composition of A, concentration of A should be same. When the equilibrium is achieved, at least we expect the composition to be same. But then we also talked about in the same video about chemical potential, and we said concentrations need not become equal. It can actually increase in the difference. In many cases it happens, and that is due to chemical potential becoming equal between two phases. So it is ultimately the chemical potential which matters, or the activity which matters. That should become equal between different phases, not the chemical composition. Okay, so now we'll see more about this chemical composition in phase equilibrium. Let us see about single component in a single phase. This is the phase phi and the component is A. Chemical potential of A is a function of activity of A. So this is something that we have seen in the video on chemical potential and activity. In ideal mixing, we have seen that activity of A is equal to mole fraction of A. In non-ideal cases, activity of A is either greater than mole fraction of A or less than mole fraction of A. In dilute solutions, if amount of A is very small compared to B, then we can write like this: activity of A is directly proportional to mole fraction of A, and the proportionality constant here is gamma A. This is called as activity coefficient. Fine. This behavior, the ideal behavior, is called Raoultian behavior, and this dilute solution behavior, which is non-ideal, is called Henrian behavior. Activity of A generally then is a function of X of A, isn't it? I mean, in this dilute case, it happens to be a straight line relationship, but generally speaking, it has to be some function of XA, which can be quite complex, but we can write activity of A is some function of mole fraction of A, right? So now we'll see about phase equilibria and how chemical composition can be defined in this. Okay, so now we have this from activity of one element in each phase must be equal across all the phases which are in equilibrium. Let's say there are many phases, alpha, phi, and many other phases which are in equilibrium, and in this system the element A is present, so its activity must be equal in all the phases. That is the case, then activity of A, which is a function of x of a must be equal. So we can write this function of x of a in alpha and phi and so on. So if the value of xa in one phase, let's say alpha in alpha phase is fixed, the first phase is fixed, then it means xa in other phases have to be dependent on it, isn't it? Because this equality should hold. So if one xa value is fixed in one phase, then it tells that other xa values cannot have any random independent number. It has to be satisfying this equation, so it has to be dependent on this xa. So now that we talked about many phases and component A in one phase and component A which is present in many phases, things like that, we will stick to this kind of a general case. So P number of phases and C components. So if this in C component system, if P phases are to be in equilibrium, how are we going to talk about different variables for this system? That's what we will see now. This is something that we have just seen. So if this is the case in a P phase equilibria, then P minus 1 equations are dependent, right? So here we are seeing for each phase, this is going to continue. For only one phase, we are saying we can fix it. Others will automatically depend on it. So P minus 1 equations are dependent. Composition of elements in only one phase can be defined independently, like we did for the first case. If this is the case for one element A in a C component system, C multiplied by P minus 1 equations with composition values are dependent, right? So for A, we have to do it for B, C, D and so on, whatever is the number of elements we have. So if C is the number of elements, then C multiplied by P minus 1 equations, they are dependent. Means we don't need to bother about that. We need to bother about only one phase, composition of elements in only one phase. Now we are talking about composition of elements in only one phase. We will see about that little more. So this is how we define chemical composition of one phase. So Xa in alpha, Xb in alpha, Xc in alpha. So each element's mole fraction in alpha. This is how the chemical composition is defined. If you add up all of them, that must be equal to 1. So if this is the case, then if we want Xa of alpha and we know all the other values of X, all the other mole fractions, so we can do this 1 minus of all the other values. We have to know each of these values. If we know that, then we can simply subtract all of them from 1 to get the unknown value of mole fraction. Okay, so if it is a two element system, then Xa and Xb should be equal to 1. If we know Xb, then we can automatically figure out what is Xa. Similarly, we can do it for a C component system. So C minus 1 components are independent, which means only one is dependent. All other values we need to know, right? All other individual values we need to know. So they're all independent, only one is dependent. So if C is the total number of components, C minus 1 are independent. So in a P phase equilibria, if this is the case for one phase, so if P phases are in equilibrium, then P multiplied by C minus 1 composition values are independent. So in each phase, we have to tell the composition, the mole fraction of all the elements except one. Okay, so if this is the case, then P multiplied by C minus 1 composition values are required. They are all independent. Okay. Let us consolidate what we have learned. In a P phase equilibria, in a C component system, P multiplied by C minus 1 composition values are independent. We have this C multiplied by P minus 1 equations with composition values which are dependent. So what we can do is we can subtract this from this. P multiplied by C minus 1 minus C multiplied by P minus 1, the composition values which are independent. So that now this number has come down. We are subtracting this entire thing from this. Okay, so these many values we need to know. What is this? P multiplied by C minus P and minus C multiplied by P minus C. So this is going to be the equation which comes to be C minus P. These many number of independent composition values are required to define a P phase equilibria in a C component system. Okay, so these are independent composition values. Okay, now that we have seen about chemical equilibrium so much, we also need to keep in mind that when we talk about phase equilibrium or equilibrium in general, we must have thermal and mechanical equilibrium as well. So temperature and pressure are two more variables which are independent to define phase equilibrium. So to this C minus P, which is necessary to define the chemical variables, we have to add two more variables. One is pressure and the other one is temperature. So this C minus P plus 2, we can call it F, degrees of freedom, which is nothing but number of independent variables in a phase equilibrium. This equation is called the Gibbs phase rule, one of the most important equations. The same equation can be written like this: P plus F is equal to C plus 2. Police force is equal to constables plus 2. But we don't use this quite often, especially when it comes to alloys, phase diagrams, and metallurgy. So we will use P plus F is equal to C plus 1 because we don't consider pressure for phase equilibria under constant pressure. Many of the phase equilibria that we study is under 1 atmospheric pressure. So this is the equation that we will use. See you in the next video.